Hey MotoAmerica fans, this is Matthew Scholz. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the MotoAmerica YouTube channel for more coverage and also like or comment.
It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship, our fourth round of 2021. From the Ridge Motorsports Park in Shelton, Washington, it's the Komatsu MotoAmerica Superbikes at the Ridge. Supersport on the horizon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show and the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, two-time champion. Now, Jason, in this Supersport class, there have been two riders as our standouts for this championship.
Yeah, no question. Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly have been the standouts for the last year. There's been some guys that have gotten close, but what this championship's really going to come down to, I feel, is who's going to make a mistake. These guys are pushing each other all the way, much like they did this morning in qualifying.
And for Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly, as we take a look, Jason, back, Road America was absolutely gnarly, especially race one, 36-plus passes.
Just an incredible race. These guys show so much respect to each other on the track until this happened, Greg. This happened with one lap to go. Both of them crashed down into turn 5. A small mistake by SDK. Escalante was stunned by that. He falls over too, gives Mesa the win. They both picked their bikes up. Got finishes, though, so they got some points. In the second race, Escalante showed why he's got that #1 plate on his bike and ran away to a very dominating victory. All in all, though, for Sean Dillon Kelly, it wasn't a complete loss. Only 6 points was lost in the championship for SDK. So these guys come to the Ridge ready to do battle again.
Yeah, with Sean Dillon Kelly crashing first in race one, it could have been a disaster. But taking a look at this graphic right here, you can see that SDK came in first, leaves first. But it's Sam Lockoff who moves himself up the leaderboard. So Lockoff and Benjamin Smith with Rocco Landers taking a trip down south, at least for the moment. But the stars have been Sean Dillon Kelly and Richie Escalante. And our very own Hannah Lopa had a chance to catch up with the two stars.
Greg, just 11 points separate our top two in the Supersport class this season. The competition has been fierce so far this year. We've seen both Richie and Sean win races. Sean, the battle during race one last round was pretty intense. How was it from your perspective?
Yeah, it was, as many say, one of the best races in the season and also in general. We definitely had a great battle. I think it was over 35 changes for the lead, and unfortunately it didn't end the way we wanted to, but it was still quite the battle.
Now, both riders crashed out of that race. Richie, race two went a little bit different than the first race. We expected the competition to be just as fierce, but you managed to pull away. What gave you the confidence to do that, to pull off that victory?
Yeah, for sure. I tried something different in the warm-up, so I feel a little bit better on the bike. When see Sean have a little mistake in the turn one, I say, okay, it's time to pass Sam, and then try to put one fast lap, take the gap a little bit, and then just put my rhythm. So I think very happy to just consistent and win the race.
Last year here at the Ridge, you won a race. You also crashed out of a race. What are your expectations for this weekend?
Yeah, for sure this weekend very hard. I'm ready to keep working on my bike to feeling better, and yeah, let's go for another battle like Saturday one in Road America.
Thanks, Richie. And Sean, you also won a race here last year. What are your expectations for this weekend?
Feeling really good. Just time to put it together for qualifying this afternoon and then start the races tomorrow.
Well, best of luck out there to both of you. Greg, the weather will certainly be a factor here this weekend, but the competition is sure to be fierce.
Oh, the weather, hot, including these two riders. Jay, as we look at them, you can see those championship points first in 3 races. And Jay, the standouts here, what we're hoping not to see is one rider catch fire and momentum, but that these two keep battling it out all season long. But Escalante looked awfully fast in qualifying, as did Sean Dillon Kelly. Jason, here at the Ridge, which, by the way, let's take a look at the Ridge because this is tons of fun.
Yeah, this track, Greg, as you can see, second year here at the Ridge. Going down this front straightaway, we got this chicane that leads into turn 1 and turn 2. You go uphill through 3, 4. There's not going to be a lot of gears used around here. Mostly on these 600s, it's going to be a lot of second and third gear areas. Some first gear turns down on the last section here, turns 13, 14, 15. But very technical track, a lot of elevation changes, and a lot of places where we saw guys getting creative with passes last year.
And brand new asphalt this year with tons of grip. racers looking forward to the Ridge. What about this guy with no Mesa here this weekend? Lockoff could capture third in the championship. Can he do it?
Getting close, Raj. We saw that shot of Sam Lockoff there exiting the turn, the 44 Suzuki, and Michael Hill came in here just a moment ago, and he's, all right, boys, who do you pick? And I said, Sam Lockoff. I said, he's a guy, because if these two guys take each other out in front, Sam's going to be there in a position to probably take this victory. And I like how he's kind of been setting his own goals this year of where he wants to be, and so far he's met each one of those goals.
Just getting better every race, and also for him being a young guy, moving up a class, he's not throwing it down the road all the time. He's taking, what he gets each race, learning more and more. He's got a coach, P.J. Jacobson, and I think that's been a huge help for him. I've
said to Michael there, I mean, he's got the funding behind him. He's got the team. He's got, he's got a teammate that he can talk to. Hopefully they talk, and Sean Dillon Kelly. So everything's kind of trending the right direction for Sam Lockoff. I still think Kevin Olmedo is going to be in there. We haven't seen him much this year, but right off the top, the Altus Motorsports entry, that Suzuki is going to be quick. Ben Smith, again, didn't qualify the best. He's in 6th. He's going to be a guy to look forward to on the 88.
Even though he didn't qualify, he qualified 6th, but still, if you look at the lap times, they're so close, a couple tenths would have moved him pretty far up the grid.
5th in championship points, a couple of podiums this year. 1 point ahead of Rocco Landers, who has his lone podium this year. 1 podium back, at the first stop at Atlanta, race number 2. Fresh and lean, looking clean. Sean Dillon Kelly throwing on those gloves, getting ready to do battle. And I looked at you, Raj, earlier, during the break, and went to the other guys and remember, this is the race. We saw a lot of dive bombs. We haven't seen a ton of dive bombs. We've seen a lot of passes and aggressive moves. We saw dive bombs out of this track last year where they just go straight for the line and say it's your job to stop or you're going to run off the track.
It's some of these corners, the way they set themselves up, like turn 8, where you drift up in the middle a little bit, so to get a better run out of 8 to 9. When somebody drifts up, they were sticking it right in there. And then also the same thing into turn 11 and turn 12. You kind of drift up a little bit through there, and every time whoever was in front was doing the normal racing line, the other one was coming through.
Yeah, it seemed like turn 11, especially last year. But again, setting yourself to be able to come out, because you might, try and block that line and kind of totally kill your run as well. You better make that pass. You better stick, and hopefully that pass will be for the lead. This is the one track that possibly you could maybe get away. The draft's not going to be as prevalent. Can either one of these two guys separate themselves from the other? Do you honestly think so?
I think it will be difficult because they're so close in lap times. But, we've seen Richie Escalante last race be able to check out with a track that had with a draft played into effect, and then this weekend with no draft. I don't think they're going to let each other get away, but if one of them gets a bad start and pulls away, it's going to be hard to make that gap up because they're so even.
6 races this year, 3 different winners: Sean Dillon Kelly, Richie Escalante, and Stefano Mesa, who's watching from Costa Rica on MotoAmerica Live Plus. Wish you were here, buddy, but Sean Dillon Kelly has an 11-point advantage in this championship, and he's trying to add 5 more at least over Richie Escalante, who sits 11 behind. Again, it's the Supersport ready to take off a 16-lap race at the Komatsu MotoAmerica Superbikes at the Ridge.
Today's Supersport coverage is sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
We're back at the Ridge Motorsports Park for the Komatsu MotoAmerica Superbikes at the Ridge. Our race number 1 for Supersport action. Let's take a look at the starting grid and how they qualified. Jason, pretty much everyone went faster this morning and under perfect conditions. And it's Sean Dillon Kelly, a 142.863 and a new overall track record.
Unbelievable lap. Escalante second there. Olmedo, great to see him back, and only 1.2 off Lockoff, Landers, and Benjamin Smith. A few of the other guys we've seen on the podium this year. Max Engels with a tremendous job this morning, ending up 7th. Dominic Doyle, Nolan Lampkin round out row 3. De Silva, Nassani, and Minster are on row number 4. Then we have Thermiotis, Liam Grant, Carl Soltiz, LaRoche, Sabaro, local guy, and Austin Miller on the outside of row 6. Petrati, Zaragoza, Creasep, Lane Blackall, and Stephen Campbell back on row number 8. And Phil Melnick has row number 9 to himself and hoping to move forward.
Definitely hoping to move forward. 25 racers, 9 rows up here in the Pacific Northwest. And if you're wondering, it's hot. It looks hot. 96 degrees currently outside. Feels like 100. But
and a pretty physical track.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have a lot of big straights here, so you see these guys coming down through the 13, 14, 15, 16 complex here at the Ridge. And I think that when we saw the schedule last year MotoAmerica put out, I don't think we thought the Northwest would be the hottest race that we go to all season long.
Yeah, we definitely did not, as things are going to continue to be nice and warm here through Monday and then right into the 8s. Let's get right down to Hannah. What's up, Hannah?
Yeah, you guys mentioned the temperature, 96 degrees ambient, 122 degree track temperature. There is not a cloud in the sky, so there's not even any chance for cloud cover to give these guys any sort of relief. Ultimately, what it's going to come down to is who's going to be able to manage that tire drop off as best as possible to the end of the race. But I spoke with our friends at Dunlop, and they said they're really confident in the tire selection that they've given to our riders, so if they'll go the distance for sure.
That's a great report, Hannah. And it's not just the drop-off of the tire. It's the physicality that you have once the tires drop off. We're going to see who's fit today.
Yeah, because these motorcycles are going to start moving around a lot. It's time to get racing here. Supersport race number 1, 16 laps scheduled. The lights are on, revs are up. Clutches are out, and Sean Dylan Kelly, M4X Star Suzuki, with a fantastic launch. He's going to lead us into turn number 1, chicane. Is this one going to be clean? Riders trying to go all over the place, finding some room. But it looks like a clean start for the field.
Great start, and you can see somebody from the 3rd row, I think it was Max Engels, got a tremendous launch, then just kind of ran a little bit wide, but he was up there in 4th or 5th, Greg, but he's going to go up the hill now in 6th place. Looks like Kevin Almeida is going to get right into the back now of Sean Dylan Kelly as they come out of turn 5, head up to turn 6, one of the longest corners we have. If you remember looking back at Wisconsin, we had the carousel there, the big long right. Well, this here at the Ridge is a big, big long left, and as soon as they come out of this, they're going to be sweeping down a big steep hill. It's very technical. You're going to see the bikes G out once they get to the bottom of this, but SDK's got the start he needed.
So Sean Dylan Kelly leading the way. How about Kevin Olmedo getting right back into form, the El Salvador rider on the Altus Motorsports GSXR 600, a program. The technical partner is Team Hammer, the same Team Hammer that runs M4X Star Suzuki. So a couple Suzukis lead the way. Richie Escalante, your number 1 plate on the Kawasaki, trying to find a way around Kevin Olmedo.
Yeah, Olmedo's going to be really good right now on brand new tires as well. He's I talked to him yesterday. He told me that the shoulder still bothers him under heavy braking. As we can see, it looks like Max Engels took an off-track excursion in turn 11. He's back on track and going. He just ran off. I saw him run off there, Greg. And but getting back to Olmedo, coming back from a shoulder surgery that he had at the beginning of the year that forced him to miss the first 2 rounds on that Altus GSXR 600. But he's back. Now he's got Escalante up behind him. Richie's going to want to try to make quick work of Olmedo as they head down here into turn 1.
Talking to Richie Escalante as he makes the pass for 2nd place into turn 1. He felt here at the Ridge Motorsports Park the Kawasaki lacked a little bit of mid-corner speed compared to the Suzukis and the Yamaha. It was a little bit more unstable, especially around the back section of that track, 13 through 16.
Yeah, I think both these bikes are going to have their strengths, GSXR 600 and the ZX6. And when you think about it, I was sitting down with Jeremy Toy this morning, asking him some specific questions about the bike, if it was different, a lot different than last year. Really wasn't much difference. He told me a little bit of change in some attitude with Sean, and now you see what's happening. And as I said that, at the time, Sean Dylan Kelly was at a mid-43. Next thing you know, we saw Escalante drop to a 43.1. I said, well, it looks like we got to go back to work, which they did. And Sean Dylan Kelly was able to go 42.8, which is extremely fast around here. And you can see, Greg, he's just starting to creep away.
What you were saying about Kevin Olmedo and that shoulder injury, I spoke to him and he said for the most part he's only feeling pain in really hard braking areas, so like the mini corkscrew onto the front straightaway, he's kind of having some trouble, but other than that he's feeling much stronger. He really wants to push in the first lap, keep a consistent pace, and just maximize focus on maximizing his points. You know, this was a good front row start for him, and he really likes how technical this track is and has so much grip. And Kevin's just got such a good attitude. He's really just happy to be here and happy to be back racing.
He's really one of the happiest guys. If you ever meet Kevin Almeida in the pits, you'd never realize that he's as fierce as he is on track. And right now what he has to do, Hannah, is just put his head down and study these two guys in front of him as much as he can. With every lap that he can follow these guys, he's going to be pulling away from Sam Lockoff, who's doing a good job there in 4th in front of Ben Smith in 5th. Rocco Landers is 6th at the moment. But for Almeida right now, these are the two guys that have been leading this field for the last couple of years. And you can see SDK, minute 44.3, and Escalante was able to run the exact same time. But you remember, Greg, when we were at Wisconsin, we saw Escalante get out to a big start. We saw this man here, Sean Dillon Kelly, get held up for a lap. And what it did is it created that big gap. They would run similar times, but that gap had been created, and it's a little bit similar right now. I know we're only on lap 3, but I know this guy's not going to be slowing down.
Yeah, Sean Dillon Kelly and 4X Star Suzuki leading the way with about a second in hand over his championship rival, Richie Escalante. Sean Dillon Kelly, 4th on the all-time win list in MotoAmerica Supersport. That list led by J.D. Beach, Garrett Gerloff, and this guy, Richie Escalante, in 3rd. He's got 15 wins to his career. But, Jay, remember that for Escalante, his wins only started back in 2020. They've been racing this series quite a while, but it was that switch to the Honos Kawasaki that really lit the fire of the #1 plate.
Absolutely, and he got with a good team and a great group of guys down there. He has trimmed off 0.3 of a second on this lap in that second sector. First sector, they were almost identical. Second sector, Richie's able to pull up a little bit. Now you hear that bike, Greg, kind of skipping as they go into turn 13. It's an extremely slow turn. He's going to go all the way back to first gear. A lot of weight on the front end of that bike, and as you're getting that last downshift to first gear, you'll hear that thing hopping around a little bit.
We'll get a look at lap times. They come across start-finish line. Kelly with his head down. He goes 44.419, 44.7, 44.471. So basically identical lap times for the top two, with Olmedo slipping a little bit to a 45.2. Jay, we thought the possibility of the race lap record falling, especially with the time that Sean Dillon Kelly was able to do in qualifying, shattering the outright track record. But in the heat of the day, we still have a lot of laps to decide it. But the lap record's a 144.301. So Sean Dillon Kelly,
close, huh,
yeah, he
he
was only 60 thousandths of a second off of that race lap record. But it's all about what Hannah was talking about, managing these tires. How much do you actually put into it, and how much are the tires going to handle? 122 track temperature, well within what Dunlop has experienced before. So no big concern. And how about this guy, Rocco Landers, your two-time champion. Landers at 16 years old out of Oregon. This would be his closest race. Having a great run at it in 6th place currently. And Jay, it's just been a year of development for Rocco Landers and the Landers crew.
Yeah, when you jump up a class, we knew this was a possibility. This guy is unbelievable talent. And if you look who's right behind him, he has Dominic Doyle. These two guys saw a lot of each other in the Junior Cup days last season, racing and battling hard with each other at this track and others. And right behind them, Nolan Lampkin, who has also stepped his game up a little bit this year. He's got these two guys directly in front of him. But for Rocco, it's for all of our Junior Cuppers, it's a big step. When you go from Junior Cup to Twins Cup, that's a step. I would say going from Twins Cup to 600 is a lot bigger step. And then as these guys move forward through their careers, the steps do obviously get a little bit bigger. But as they get bigger and they get stronger, the jump from a 600 to 1,000 won't be that big of a deal for these guys. But you've got to remember how young they are and how much they're working right now to find the setups on these faster, heavier motorcycles.
And Jason, in talking to the team and talking to Rocco, they're still chasing that base setup that he really feels good on and likes. All season long, they've been struggling with electrical issues, especially the first couple rounds that didn't really allow them to focus on setup so much. Those electrical issues are sorted, and now they've had the most productive sessions this weekend that they have all season. They tested at Brainerd last week. They found some better geometry, better attitude of the bike. And they've been working a little bit with Josh Hayes, and they said they kind of threw the Josh Hayes setup at it, if you will. But ultimately for this race, they're really just pushing for a tire conservation strategy.
Well, when you have a guy like Josh in your corner that's willing to help out, that's a big bonus. And we know how talented all these guys are. especially Rocco with his history the last couple of years. And that's really why I think it's been impressive this year to see what Sam Lockoff has done, because he's made that jump. Obviously, very experienced team with M4. You can see him just go through our screen. There's Benjamin Smith. And then you're going to go back a little bit further to this battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th. And even for Dominic Doyle, if you remember, Dominic raced at Daytona 200 and didn't make it. I think he crashed early. Then he ended up getting hurt at our first round in Atlanta, sat out Virginia. And so this is really, he's just starting to come back right now from a broken wrist. He told me yesterday he's feeling pretty healthy on the bike. So again, you know, it's the steps. These are the steps. These are the laps that you do to continue to improve.
Sean Dillon Kelly, Richie Escalante lead the way. Last time by the stripe, Sean Dillon Kelly broke the track record at a 1:44.2. Now he goes 1:44.0, but Richie Escalante breaks the track record again at a 1:43.80. That's a race lap record. So the chase continues. It was 0.8 of a second. The margin between first and second now down to a half a second between M4 Star Suzuki Sean Dillon Kelly and Honos Hudson Valley Motorcycle Racing's Richie Escalante.
And some might ask, well, we did 42.8 this morning. 42.8 is going to be one of those flyer laps where you got a new tire and you go out there and you put it down. The conditions were a little better this morning, a little bit cooler, Greg. So those lap times are going to come a little bit easier. To go 43.8, only be 1 second off that at this stage of the race. We're 6 laps in, but the heat and the track temperature, like you heard Hannah say in her report prior to the race, we're up over 120 degrees track temp right now. So pretty impressive right now with what the Ridge has done. The track's all newly paved. You can see all the curbings are new. They've spent some money to really make the track a lot better for these riders, and that's why we're seeing the lap times as quickly as we are. Rode here Monday, Tuesday, Greg, and doesn't feel like there's a bump on the track. It's just so nice and smooth, and the curbs are way, way more defined.
So for Sean Dillon Kelly, he's had it his way, leading this race, pushing his own air. But it's now Richie Escalante, and in speaking with Richie about this particular race, keep in mind as you once again hear the rear tire chattering under hard braking and downshifts. For Escalante, he's only 7 weeks. 7 weeks since he broke his collarbone and had it plated. And so really for him, normally what would be a mixture of physical activities has really come down to running. He runs all the time to stay fit. And in this heat, though, it can catch you off guard for sure.
Yeah, there's no question. But, you know, that's kind of behind him now, I feel. I feel like these guys, when you're young and you're healthy and you're strong, you heal really quickly. And, you know, I haven't heard him complain about any of that stuff. I feel like he's going to be pretty healthy. I think the more concerning part is not really a concern, but, you know, these guys are all running lap timers, and I'm sure when you see a 44 flat on your screen, you think, okay, that's probably going to be a good lap. If you're leading this race, you think that's going to be a pretty solid lap. You come around the next lap and you see that your pit board actually shows that the gap has been decreased. You can see now Escalante has closed right up. Now, when you look at this first split, that's 0.3 Escalante just gained over the number 40 there in that very first split.
So with this race, about 9.5 laps remain in Supersport race number 1. JP, if you're Escalante, what's your plan?
Well, I think right now, I mean, we kind of giggled before the start of the race. We saw 35 lead changers at Wisconsin. Those are 2 different types of tracks. I think once Escalante gets there, he's going to either, you know, he's scouting right now. He's watching. He's trying to see where he's a little bit better. He's trying to see where SDK is going to be a little bit better. And when you got to be very defiant on the move that you're going to make here at the Ridge. And you can see, I feel like this last sector, SDK's got a little bit better pace. The first sector, Escalante looks like he's got the better, but I think it really goes back and forth lap to lap. When you look and you talk to these riders after the race and they watch a race back, they'll say, oh, I made a little mistake here, made a little mistake there. It's really hard for anybody that's actually watching to see those little mistakes, but those are where those 0.1 of a second get gained or lost.
9 laps to go, 0.3 of a second, the margin between Sean Dillon Kelly, number 40, M4 Star Suzuki, and number 1, Richie Escalante, your reigning champ on the Honos HVMC Racing Kawasaki. Jason and I are intently watching to see where the strengths and weaknesses of each riders are.
You can see there through that turn 2 up to turn 3 section, Escalante just kind of rolls up onto the back of Sean Dillon Kelly, and then they come out of here. And then after they come out of this big, long left, it kind of seems like that's where the Suzuki's a little bit better. So there's some give and take here. And I think, obviously, when we were at Wisconsin, there's a lot of drafting and repassing. That's why we saw. We don't have a lot of that kind of action here as far as the draft goes.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye on your temperature gauge as well, Jay. You don't want to be, I mean, this isn't a track where you have long drafting and, moves to get tucked into someone's draft and not get clean air on that radiator, but it's something you got to watch. Escalante close now, JP.
I like what SDK did there. He just went down to the bottom. I mean, these guys, remember, these guys raced here last year. They know all the little spots, all the little moves, and he was able to block that tight line. You could see Escalante had a run on and through there as they came up out of that turn 10 and 11. But see how that Suzuki jumps out of turn 11 and jumps out of turn 12? You can see there, and you can see the team of SDK are looking, and you can hear those rear wheels skip, and it's great that we can hear that in our camera. Both these guys get back down to first gear at the top of the hill, but see how the Suzuki's able to pull away in some of the tighter sections.
Yeah, Sean Dillon Kelly, just as he transitions over to head down the hill, grabs that second gear and is able to roll it down the hill. And boy, that Suzuki handles so well through 13, 14, 15, and 16.
But even out of 11 and 12, the two tight, the left and right handers preceding that last sector, he's able to just get away. Now, when the bikes roll through here, when they go through this first left, the last time we went through here into this next left they're in, we could really see Escalante kind of close up right here. There's some corner speed that Escalante has from that left to this right, and he kind of gets a little bit closer. But 44.4s now we're into as far as lap times go. These guys are about, what are they, Greg? About a second quicker than third, fourth, fifth. Right now, further on behind them. So they're about a second clear a lap to everybody else.
Left part of your screen, you can see our timing and scoring pylon. So Olmedo is ahead of Lockoff. That battle has got a gap about 4 seconds from Olmedo to Lockoff. Benjamin Smith in fifth, Landers in sixth, Dominic Doyle, Nolan Lampkin, Alejandro Thermiotis, Nate Minster, your top 10. We're watching the battle for first place with about 7.5 laps remaining in race number 1 in Supersport. Oh, we got a rider down.
That looks like Benjamin. Is it?
Might be Benjamin Smith.
Just the leathers. It might not be, but I'm just having a look.
Yeah, he's baffled, you can see.
Yeah. Yeah,
it is the 88. Unfortunately for Smith, he crashes himself out of fifth spot. He'll take a look at that motorcycle, see if he can continue. There's a function of no slipper clutch on the Suzuki and Supersport trim.
But look how good it handles all down through here. And he's able to just gap a little bit through that last sector. First sector, they were identical last time. Second sector, Escalante was just a tad bit quicker. Let's see the lap times as they come across. You see that gap he opens up?
Yeah, that's exactly what Escalante told me. Left part of your screen, Jason.
And
Benjamin
you can see
Smith.
This is going to be Benjamin Smith. He's got Rocco up underneath. Oh, Rocco gave him a little bit of a hand there. As you can see, those guys just came together right in the middle of turn 6. So Landers had closed up onto the back of Benjamin Smith, and he went for that door and just kind of ran into the side of Benjamin and knocked him down there.
You could see that Benjamin had no idea he was there. That was just caught in that blind spot. So once again, Escalante on the tailpipe, the M4 tailpipe of Sean Dillon Kelly. Escalante right now, he's got to make this move now. So he goes up the inside, and he makes the pass for the lead. So lead change, Escalante. Now SDK is going to have a look to see the strength of Richie Escalante.
Well, I think he's going to like what he sees when he gets into these tighter lefts and tighter rights. I believe so far, just what we have seen, the Suzuki is going to be a little bit better handler from on the last sector. So they come up over here. This is kind of where Richie was a little bit better earlier. And now let's see if SDK goes to the bottom. See, they're both kind of protecting. But the Suzuki gets out of here really well, gets out of the next right really well as also. So he's not going to be able to get away from him in this section. So now it's time for Sean to get a little bit of an education where his bike might be a little bit better than Escalante's.
Another look at the pass left part of your screen, live action on the right side.
Yep, Escalante did the job prior to where we picked that up.
Escalante, sorry, Jason.
Yep.
Escalante wide at the top of the hill, so a lead change as Sean Dillon Kelly able to hold on to his line. And this is where that GSXR 600 Suzuki really shines. But the thing was, too, Jay, is Escalante making that mistake. That was an opportunity for SDK to learn that he is stronger than Escalante if he was behind him. But he doesn't have that information now because Escalante ran wide. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but, you know, all it takes is these guys is one time. He's gonna have come out of that left-hander and that right-hander prior and said, hey, you know what? I think my bike's a little better through here. I feel that if he can lead going into turn 11, once we get to these last 5 laps, you're going to see here on the left-hand side of our screen, Escalante is going to get into that corner, and whether he caught a false neutral, I couldn't tell. But a lot of times when they wait that long to tip in, it's usually a rider trying to get that bike back into gear. He runs a little bit wide, and SDK didn't need a second invitation to roll on through there.
Jason, what it sounds like you're saying is that Richie maybe needs to be a little more patient. And when I spoke with him, Greg, you asked, what's Richie's strategy for the rest of this race? And when I talked to him earlier, he said the strategy is to really just be patient for the second part, and especially these last few laps. And if you've ever talked to Richie, I think you know that he's got a really calm demeanor and that he really excels at being patient. He's an observer. He likes to kind of watch and sit back and see what's happening, formulate a plan, and then try to execute it. And I think that will serve him really well through the end of this race if he can manage.
Yeah, and look where these guys are coming right now, Hannah. This turn 13. Patience is a virtue. You can see Sean Dillon Kelly working that clutch on the way in, getting that bike stopped. Getting that apex speed to the top of the hill, absolutely perfect, because from that point on, he can roll down that hill and increase his speed and his momentum all the way now to the start-finish line. You can see the gap that Escalante just can't quite close. So we're going to come by this lap here. We're going to have 5 to go when they go through. Let's see the lap times this time through. 44.2. So again, it's only 2/10 off of Kelly's fastest lap of his for him personally. And you can see how much he gets away. Now, this is where Escalante is a little bit quicker, but that might have just been the move. Once he saw Escalante struggling in that little bit of an area, that might have been the thing that's going to just spark SDK to put his head down solid for 4 laps, get these lap times back down into the low 44s or even a high 43, and get that gap pulled out for good.
Maybe that's all that Sean Dillon Kelly needed.
Correct.
Was 3/4 of a lap to really analyze what Richie Escalante is doing. Is SDK is starting to pull the pin on this one, trying to break away.
He's quicker in the first split, which we haven't really seen a lot of that once Escalante closed that gap. That was 2/10 right there for Sean Dillon Kelly in that very first split. So that gap has not come down. Now, when they get to that third split again, he'll probably pull away another couple tenths.
4.5 laps remain in this race. Supersport race number 1. Sean Dillon Kelly leading the way from Richie Escalante, who momentarily led this race. Kevin Olmedo and Sam Lockoff. Lockoff starting to close in on Olmedo, now only 3 seconds behind is the 44 behind this battle. They're about 11 seconds back. Rocco Landers had moved himself into 5th. Dominic Doyle, Lampkin, Thermiotis, Nate Minster, and Jarrett Nassani in the top 10.
And this is going to be a big boost for the 16 and that Altus team, as we have somebody that has gone
Lane,
down.
looks like.
Yeah, looks like the last set of corners here, turn 13. But it's going to be a big boost for that Altus Motorsports with Olmedo. I mean, he had a really good, solid rookie season last year on the 600s, I felt. And, for him to come here and hopefully get this bike up on the podium for them. And he is, he's operating right now with about a 3-second lead over Lockoff. So we'll keep an eye on that. This guy just went 44.4, Escalante 44.3.
Yeah, Escalante trying to reel in Sean Dillon Kelly. He's got a plan formulated already. If it's going to come to fruition or not, it's really hard to say. I mean, if you're Richie Escalante, if you can get back to Sean Dillon Kelly, you're going to be able to make a pass and then make it stick with how good SDK is through 13 and 16.
Well, he did it there in turn 6 a couple laps ago, and he has killed this first split. I mean, almost a full second, Greg.
Wow.
Quicker. No, I'm wrong. Sorry, 10th quicker, but he's visibly closer as they roll down now into this next spot. And but yeah, you're right. Where's he going to try to do that again? And as the laps wind down, Sean Dillon Kelly, he's going to know that it happened in turn 6 before. He's probably going to be guarding against us. Now, the other thing you're going to notice here, he gets it back down into first gear. See how low he can keep the bike on the way in there? That's another very popular passing spot for a lot of guys, and it's going to be very difficult to do it there. So the number 1 plate right now has got to really be thinking about where he's going to try to make this move with about 3 1/4 laps to go.
11 points separate these two in the championship. With our last trip to the racetrack at Road America, Richie Escalante getting back 6 points in his battle to retain the number 1 plate. 3 wins on the season so far for Sean Dillon Kelly, 2 for Escalante. Sean Dillon Kelly only been off the podium 1 time this season. That was race number 1 at Road America when he tucked the front in turn 5. And then Escalante did it right behind him. But Sean Dillon Kelly has put on a masterful performance so far.
That bike accelerates out of there well. That Suzuki gets out of that corner so well for him. And again, this is the spot, though, that we'll see the #1 roll up. But, man, it's really fun watching it because you can really see the differences in performance of both these motorcycles and how they're running. Escalante a little bit out of the seat as they go through that turn 4-5 transition. A little bit out of the seat there.
Yeah, it was a slightly different line, too. A little tighter, a little more lean angle, trying to apply the throttle. That Kawasaki spinning up that rear Dunlop. 2.5 laps to go. Escalante is just giving it everything, isn't he?
Look at this, though.
I know.
Sean Dillon Kelly is just
that might have been the warning, though, Jason.
You're right. 100%.
That might have been the warning for Richie Escalante. That rear tire spinning up and sending him sideways might have been enough's enough. Or Escalante's going, okay, let me cool the tire down for a moment. Let me just go ahead and hold this pace and then try to make a charge here with about 1.5 laps to go.
It's really hard to cool the tire down, though, when you see that guy disappearing. So it's not really one of those things with 3 to go, Greg, that you can go, well, I'm going to give another shot. I'll let him open up a half second, especially with this little time to go. And this guy right now, I mean, when you look at SDK, he doesn't make mistakes. There's another mistake from Escalante. So he's pushing. And that right there, he made a mistake in SDK's strongest portion of the racetrack. So that's going to be really detrimental. Also now we can see our first back marker coming up here as they get going across the line. I'm sure he's going to get a blue flag. But we'll see if this can impact anything at all. Nope. He's going to be able to get by the number 70 of Sean Cressup, and he moves over as well for Escalante. Good man.
Good move.
But the break has happened. 44.4 to a 45.5, over a second that time with 2 to go. This gap's not going to get pulled back. SDK's too good and hasn't been making mistakes, and he's going to see that board when he comes across, hopefully with the white flag, say +1 point something, and he's done a tremendous job here.
Also, all of a sudden for Sean Dillon Kelly, the audio that he's listening to, trying to listen to that Kawasaki behind him, all of a sudden, it's not there. And he's only going to hear his Suzuki, the exhaust note of his Suzuki. So Sean Dillon Kelly, Richie Escalante, he threw the kitchen sink at it, and it just hasn't panned out. With about 1.5 laps to go, man, SDK just hasn't put a wheel wrong this race. I mean, it's just been a great performance.
Yeah, bike looks solid, and obviously we know Escalante is not going to give up. I mean, he's capable of putting in something spectacular, but looking at it right now, it was 1.2 when they went across the line last time by. SDK has increased that gap a little bit through the first sector, and you can see these guys now. You can see that gap, Greg, and they get into this strong spot again.
Yeah, but Richie, there's no give up in Richie Escalante.
That's the first time Kelly looked back. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It's the first time he's looked back, so he knows that little bit of a gap that he has there.
So we'll see now if Escalante's got anything left in the tank to put a charge to try to win this race through Sean Dillon Kelly's strongest part of this racetrack. 13, 14, 15. The switchback, 16. Onto the front straightaway we go. White flag a-flying. Last lap of this race #1 here in Supersport. And 1 second. So Escalante got back a couple tenths. And that's it.
There's a look at Kevin Almeida there, just coming across the line in third, and then to get a little bit further back, that was Lockoff coming out of the last corner for fourth. This guy is already up into the turn 3, 4, 5 area of the track. There's a big long left. It dips away from you a little bit where you're right in the middle of that corner. There's a couple other guys up in front that look like they're racing against each other. These two here. So we'll keep an eye. Stephen Campbell and Matthias, let's see here. Daniel, they're battling right now for 18th, 19th, so they're in a battle with each other, and this is a really bad spot to be catching up to some slower traffic. So SDK is going to do his best to just try to get through it, and Escalante is just hoping for something.
Blue flags waving, so the rider's looking over their shoulder, but this is it. When the blue flags fly, you're not supposed to advance past the rider, and there's an inside-out move to get around lap traffic. But, ooh, is Escalante going to catch him at a bad spot? Now they move out of the way.
Stephen Campbell did a really nice job there of just kind of moving out of the way. Daniel just probably didn't see really what was going on. He's probably trying to race the most that he can. So those two guys were able to get through the traffic fairly easy on the run down to turn 13 for the final time.
Sean Dillon Kelly already through 13. Here he comes down the hill, working on his 11th career victory, his 4th of the season. What a performance the 19-year-old out of Hollywood, Florida has put on here at the Ridge Motorsports Park. The M4X Star Suzuki rider Sean Dylan Kelly with the victory over Richie Escalante. What a job by the crew from pole position to a win, and he is pumped. And how about the return of Kevin Olmedo, the 16, coming across the line, and he will get the final spot on the podium. Great to see Kevin back on the box.
Absolutely, and you can see these two guys always show a lot of respect for each other. STK was too good today. I mean, he was just too good. He's not making mistakes. Obviously, we know how incredibly fit he is and determined he is to try to get this championship and wrestle it away this year from that number 1, Richie Escalante. You see Rocco Landers is going to come across the line in 5th. Lockoff was some 14 seconds up the road. Rocco probably, I know Rocco, he probably feels bad about what went down there with Benjamin Smith. Dominic Doyle is going to end up 6th. Nolan Lampkin right now on our screens has crossed the line in 7th. Look at the consistency of these lap times, 44 flat on lap 5, and he was still in the 44s all the way to the end of that race.
Wow. Sam Lockoff, his teammate to Sean Dylan Kelly, signaling, hey, he got 4th place. 24 seconds back for the rookie Sam Lockoff in the M4X Star Suzuki. He'll be looking at that time to the leaders as well. Put that one in the bank. All right, so Sean Dylan Kelly celebrating his victory, his 4th of the season. We'll hear how it went for him when we return.
Well, Roger Hayden, it was everything we thought it would be. I'm really surprised that Richie Escalante showed his cards with, just past that halfway point, but it played out pretty much just like we thought.
Yeah, just like we thought, but it looked like when Richie Escalante got the lead going into 13, he outbroke himself a little bit. I'm sure he was expecting a pass.
Let's take a look at some of those passes for the lead with Sean Dylan Kelly and Richie Escalante.
Just getting that run right up into turn 6 here. You can see he gets it run, gets the preferred line.
And you like the way that his exit was, too. He was kind of guarding right here as well, not wanting to let Sean go underneath.
Down into this next 7. This is 13, where I think see how far he outbroke himself there and opened the door for Sean Dylan Kelly.
It looked like he had a little bit of advantage. Sean wasn't wanting to run it underneath him, but I think he was maybe thinking about last year. I said that was a spot that they were kind of dive bombing each other. He was probably reflecting on last year and said, I gotta charge in harder.
I think he was definitely expecting a pass. I mean, that's what we've seen all year when they race each other. So I got in a little bit deep, made that mistake, and the thing with Sean Dylan Kelly, he was just super consistent. Low 44s almost every single lap. We've seen it in practice yesterday afternoon, or the first qualifier, where he was doing a ton of laps in a row really fast, low 44s, and it showed up in the race. Also, Richie Escalante with about 2 or 3 laps to go, kind of looked like he was starting to sliding a little bit. You could see a couple places where the rear end was starting to come around.
Yeah, you said it. At least with 3 laps to go, you said his rear tire's gone. I heard Greg talking about the same thing, too. He was just trying to apply that throttle to the track, and she just wasn't there towards the end. But even during those qualifying runs, and you were looking at me and talking about it, you were so impressed with Sean Dylan Kelly in those practice or qualifiers, how he just kept running those low, good quality, fast lap times. He kept doing it lap after lap after lap. He knew what he'd have left at the end of the race.
And it just kind of shows you how comfortable he is. He's not in the pits. When guys are in and out of the pits all the time, they're still working for a good setup. He wasn't having to come in the pits as much, so I felt like he was, feeling good.
There's the download between Tony Romo, the Dunlop representative, and the Honos Kawasaki, Richie Escalante. He's telling him how that bike was wanting to come around on him. You can feel the excitement out of Sean Dylan Kelly. He's going to extend his points lead. Had an 11-point advantage. Now we'll put 5 more between himself and Richie.
Those two are just so evenly matched this weekend. I mean, some sectors, one is faster than the other. It looked like the last sector, Sean Dylan Kelly was a little quicker, and then there was others, Richie Escalante was.
Well, what did we say? I said that, and no offense to the rest of the crew out there, but Sean Dylan Kelly, Richie were just that much better than everybody else. There was a race for third. Now, they took each other out, but look at the difference between first and third place, 16 seconds. That ends up being that same second a lap after all said and done.
Yeah, for Kevin Olmedo, it's a great ride for
Yes.
him after missing a couple races. Come back and get on the podium. That's really cool for him. And now he can start chipping away at that 16 seconds and try to get it lower.
Sam Lockoff in fourth and Rocco Landers rounding out the top five, even after that incident with Ben Smith. But Sean Dillon Kelly does again, extends his points lead, send it back over to the crew next door. Greg and Jason, take it away.
Today's Supersport race coverage has been sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Kevin Olmedo making his way into winner's circle, as is Sean Dillon Kelly, locking up the rear tire on that one, celebrating with his team. A couple key passes in this race, Jason. Really, the first one gave Sean Dillon Kelly all the info he needed.
Yeah, it really did. Escalante slid up underneath him as they went into turn 6, but on that exact same lap, and this is the sector that when we were talking about the race, these guys were seesawing back and forth, but they came out of turn 6 here. Escalante, we thought he might lead for a lap or so, but just like 5 turns later, Escalante makes a small mistake. SDK goes up underneath him and never looked back after that. Kept those lap times in those low 44s. 34 race passes for the lead last race, only 2 this one.
Yeah, right. So Sean Dillon Kelly will have a 1.2 second margin of victory in the record books. Kevin Olmedo 16 seconds back. I'm sure he's happy with third, but not happy with the 16.8. Good for the rookies, Lockoff and Landers. But let's get right down to Hannah with, I'm sure, a very warm and happy Sean Dillon Kelly.
Greg, the Ridge has been great to Sean Dillon Kelly last year, a second and a victory, and this will be his second victory in a row here at the Ridge Motorsports Park. Sean, how were you able to ride so well and to hold off Richie, especially in these conditions?
Yeah, what a tough race. First of all, it's like, feels like it's 200 degrees out, but this is what I trained for. This is what Mike and I trained for, so thank you. You got me ready for this, and I feel good. It was such a difficult race, just keeping the pace. Definitely didn't go as fast as I was expecting, but I guess no one did. It was really tough out there, and I just kept my pace. I made one mistake going into false neutral, and Richie got by me, but I kept my pace. I put the pressure on, and I knew what I could do, and I felt comfortable up front. So it was really tough, mentally, physically, in all ways, but this is what we've been working for, and really happy with the whole M4XR Suzuki team. Thank you to my guys. Thank you everyone at home. I love you guys. Family wasn't able to be here for this weekend, but they'll be at Laguna. So I love you guys, and just really happy with the work we're doing. Thank you to Rai, thank you to Fresh and Lean, all the guys for keeping me strong, keeping me good. And lastly, I want to hope the best and best of wishes to everyone back by my house in the incident that happened in Surfside. A lot of lives that still haven't been found from the accident, so hope everyone's okay.
Thanks, Sean. Congratulations. Guys.
All right, Jay, and you know what? Being a professional motorcycle racer, you got to put the hours in away from the racetrack, and it pays off.
Yeah, and I said at the beginning, these are the days that you do go and you do train hard as you can, because you just never know when you're going to come someplace it's going to be 100+ degrees. Let's get back down to Hannah.
Second place today goes to our defending champion, Richie Escalante. Richie, where were you looking for an opportunity once you caught up to Sean to get around him and try and make it stick?
Yeah, you know, this race for sure is very hard, especially the rhythm, the temperature. So when I see Sean have a couple mistakes in turn 3, I say, okay, it's time to lead the race. And yeah, but today I don't have the pace. I have a little bit of slow pace. So yeah, I never give up. I try to push in the last lap. I push my maximum. I have a couple mistakes, and then, you know, Sean take a gap a little bit more and not try to pass in the last lap. So I'm really happy, thanks to Honors Racing, Hudson Valley, all my sponsors, all my team for support me, and yeah, I'm ready for tomorrow. We'll see. I think for sure very difficult race tomorrow. So thanks to SGC for my Minion helmet and Frey Shalim for all the support. And yeah, ready for tomorrow, and I really hungry to win.
Congratulations. Thanks, Richie.
Well, you know, you look at it, Greg, and it's another 5 points for SDK, but Escalante has a good team around him, obviously, and they always seem to come back on that second day a little bit stronger. And we'll see what happens as far as the setup goes. We know tomorrow is supposed to be hotter, so it's not like the conditions are changing. And let's get back down with Hannah with, I'm sure, a very happy Kevin Olmedo.
Kevin Olmedo is always happy, but more so right now. Second career podium in Supersport for him and his best finish so far this season. Kevin, how was your race?
Oh, it was exciting. I feel really good to be back on the podium, and I think it was a difficult race. It was kind of greasy, the track. We lost the grip in after lap 6, but feeling really happy. Thanks first to God, also to my family, that they are watching the race. Hola. But also, thank you very much for all the team, all the sponsors that made this possible. And hopefully for tomorrow also we can fight. And I will try to get ready my shoulder for the next races. No.
Thanks, Kevin. Congrats.
All right, yeah, you got to rehab. So these guys want to celebrate as quickly as possible to get out of this heat, but we have more coming at you from the Ridge.
Picking up a couple of the things the guys were talking about. One that a false neutral was had somewhere, and that's where Sean felt like, okay, I kind of missed that a little bit. But Richie knew that he was making some mistakes as well. Just didn't quite have the pace that Sean did today.
Yeah, it just seemed like this weekend, Sean Dylan Kelly just had a couple more tenths than Richie Escalante has. And this race, the thing, Richie Escalante never gave up. When headed toward the white flag lap, he did a low 44 trying to stay in. And I think that's why he was wanting to lead so much, is because he knew that Sean Dylan Kelly had a little bit more pace than he did. And I think that's why Sean was trying to strike back right away, because he knew he had a little bit better pace. But you know, to me, it looked like they were so evenly matched that the first sector looked like Sean Dylan Kelly was a little bit quicker, the first and last sector, and in the middle of the track looked like Richie Escalante was a little stronger.
Richie with another second-place trophy this year. That will be his third. Second at both Road Atlanta races, and now once again, you saw Kevin Olmedo, his second podium after starting his season off last year with a podium. And this is still kind of the start of his second season in Supersport, showing that he can run with those guys. And he bettered Sam Lockoff by about 7 seconds, I think it was. I mean, that's pretty impressive, Olmedo doing what he's doing this early on in the season. And like I said, Cooper McDonald been riding that bike early on and kind of trying to get that thing right. And Kevin's showing how fast it can go.
And just missing the first couple races, you know, you're really spotting those guys a lot for a guy like Kevin Olmedo. It's only his second season in Supersport, but you can see it looks like he took the first couple races to kind of find his feet. And this weekend, it looks like he found out what he's been looking for, and he's been quick not only in this race but also in the qualifying.
Look at how much you're sweating down there, and they know that, you know, conditioning is going to be a factor. What is it going to feel like tomorrow for these guys? Because if they're hot now and it's not quite 100, it's supposed to be over 100 tomorrow. Just how crazy is it going to be?
I think just the biggest thing is just for them is going to be the tires being greasy. These, you know, these guys train all the time, almost every single day. They're out doing something, so I think they'll be okay. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough, but that's why you got to make sure now you go get your hydration, get some. You know, whatever you use for recovery, get your core temperature down, and just start thinking about tomorrow.
As an amateur racer, I remember that one race that, you know, I did 100-something degree temperatures. You probably have that one hot race that you'll always remember. Do you have that one where you got off the track and literally you're okay till the second you went to set the bike down?
No, there's been a couple, especially the Superbike races, because they're so long. I remember one at VIR, but also in Superbike, we used to do 2 races in one day.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of work.
Wanting to pass out on that second one whenever you got on the bike. Somebody hold me, somebody grab the bike, and it's going to get hotter tomorrow. What a race today in Supersport. Sean Dylan Kelly, Richie Escalante, Kevin Olmedo, Sam Lockoff, and Rocco Landers. I know the guys mentioned Lockoff and Landers running off the top 5, but you also had the trio of rookies, the 3 amigos, Lockoff, Landers, and Doyle, all inside that top 6. The future is very bright here in Supersport, but up at the top of the list, we're seeing some great battles between SDK and the defending champ in Richie Escalante. They're about to round up the show for Supersport, and we still have more here on MotoAmerica Live Plus.
Welcome back to the Ridge Motorsports Park as Sean Dylan Kelly standing on top of the box again here at the Ridge, celebrating his 11th career victory. Take a look at the highlights from race 1, Jason. And really, I would say a great start from SDK and not the best from Escalante.
Not the best from Escalante. You see Max Anglesar just ran a little bit wide. He got a great launch. Lockoff was trying to do something with Escalante and couldn't. Now, Escalante was able to get by Olmedo at the end of lap 1. And right now, that gap looks manageable. But for the next 3 or 4 laps, the gap stayed the same. And then he started to close in a little bit. But SDK didn't really flinch. He just kept on getting better and better. And you could see Escalante thought that SDK maybe made a little mistake in 3. He was able to close that gap, make this pass into turn 6. He led for about 6 corners, 6 or 7 corners, did the number 1 plate. A little bit further back, Rocco Landers gets into the side of Benjamin Smith. In that same turn, turn 6. But after those 5 corners, 6 corners went by, Escalante runs a little bit wide before he slides up underneath him, and then just started hammering out those minute 44 low lap times, and you can see the distance he pulled at the end of the race there, Greg, 1.2 seconds. That's what it looks like.
But for Escalante and his crew, they'll go back tonight, take a look at the data, and make some changes. We saw what that would do for that team from Saturday to Sunday at Road America. Here's a look at that championship points. Back up to 16 now, the margin between SDK and Escalante. Now Mesa not here, so with Lockoff's 4th place finish, he's now within 5 points of 3rd in the championship. Poised to have a good result tomorrow. Lockoff might take over that 3rd place position in the championship. And on back through the field. So Jason, takeaways from today.
Well, you heard SDK talking about the heat, and he was a little surprised at how slow the pace was, and that's just simply because of the conditions. The bikes are going to run a lot hotter. Temperature, you can see the heat coming off the track. It's a lot hotter, and it's only going to get warmer. We're talking record highs here in this area over however many years, and so it's going to be interesting to see how these guys handle that tomorrow and go from there. But SDK looked pretty strong today.
Yeah, I bet some people would like to get some of that snow down here at the Ridge Motorsports Park. So great job by the field of riders, and also under extreme temperature conditions with a freshly paved track and it being as dark as it is, collecting all that heat. The Dunlop tires worked to perfection. So that'll do it for us for Supersport race number 1 for the Komatsu MotoAmerica Superbikes at the Ridge. Sean Dylan Kelly, your winner over Richie Escalante, Kevin Olmedo. Look out for Sam Lockoff and Rocco Landers to come back tomorrow strong, as well as Benjamin Smith. For Hanalope and Jason Pridmore, I'm Craig White. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow from the Ridge.